Thank you for joining us today. My name is Carlos Vasquez, doctoral candidate in psychology and the host of Circle of Insight, where we discuss the topics you have chosen with leading experts. Our motto at the Circle of Insight is wherever there's psychology involved, we will be there. Today we are joined by Dr. Shelley Varod from Israel. She is talking about the psychology of intimacy. Last time we spoke a little bit about the origin of intimacy, the history of intimacy, where it came from, how it's been viewed over the centuries. We've discussed premarital sex. We've discussed the differences between genders. Today we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about conservative religious people or individuals and their views on sex and how it affects it. And we'll go into as much as swinging and other variations as well. Hi, Dr. Varod. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So I know last time we spoke a little bit more about the conservative religious individuals and their challenges with sex and intimacy. I want to make that distinction a little bit in regards to those conservatives or the ones that are really religious. Do they also have distinctions in regards to intimacy? I know some religions you can't hold hands in public. You can't show affection.
But I think it's kind of very similar, and it's interesting because, Muslims, Christians, Catholic, Jewish people, they have different beliefs, but it seems like when it comes to sexual behavior, they all practice the same, kind of, sort of. Like you won't show, the very religious people would not show affection in public. They usually, do not have sexual intercourse before they get married. Sex is for procreation. So it's kind of like similar beliefs. And as well with the Jewish people, the very religious Jewish people have very specific practice when it comes to sexuality. It's becoming very challenging when they approach me for help, because I cannot recommend a lot of things that I will recommend people who do not practice any religion. I recently discovered that they may be able to add some sort of sex toys, but I know that I cannot ask them to practice with masturbation or self-pleasuring because they're not allowed to do that. I know that, again, sex is not for pleasure, it's for procreation. So I cannot tell them, okay, why don't you take your wife and try to do this or that. So it's very challenging. And I do get a lot of questions from this type of population, from religious people. They ask for help, especially the men. Help with their performance, but it's a bit more challenging because how can I recommend things when they cannot do it just for fun or pleasure? So
are positions also, have you seen positions tabooed in certain religions?
What do you mean when you say positions taboo?
Missionary, so forth. Are there positions that are not allowed to use, or there are certain things that you've seen that they can't do?
You know what? I'm not really sure about that. I should ask. I have few friends who are very religious, and I should ask them. I've never thought about it.
I know there's certain religious groups that I've encountered in the past. I know that they have certain ones they can't do because it either degrades the woman or whatnot, and they kind of pull those out of there. That's okay.
If you let me assume, I would assume that they probably go missionary, but I don't know. They may be open-minded, actually. They may let themselves, when they do it, try several positions and according to their preference. I'm not sure. I should ask, and I will let you know next time.
Hey, well, definitely have you back on. Now, obviously, some of these religious conservatives, and nothing bad against them, they just have their religious beliefs. If they can't do certain things, and I'm not saying positions in this matter, but if they can only procreate, I would assume there's an energy buildup that's happening. Do they tend to go elsewhere to release it? I'm sorry?
You're very right. You're suppressing, imagine you suppress a lot, like a huge amount of energy. It's difficult, and I think it's a daily struggle for some, especially during the years you're a teenage, when your hormones, as I mentioned before, get crazy and we're very sexual. I think you have to find ways to release this type of energy, but it's very difficult because the religious limit it. So it seems to me like it will come to expression in some other ways, like maybe anger or frustration or unhappiness. I cannot see it go away, but I can see, like Buddhism, the Buddhists don't speak and don't have sex for one reason. They think these two activities is a waste of energy. Actually, the opposite. They think it's such a waste of energy that they don't need to do it. But they have such a higher level of self-control, and they put themselves in a different space, in a different zone, that maybe religious people do that as well. Like, I wish I would knew how. But it's just sort of meditation way and a lot of self-control in your brain. And people are able to do it. Obviously, they do it. And some of them are not frustrated or angry. But, I mean, good for them if they can do it. I think they're missing.
I know sometimes the ones that can't tend to, I know some of them, I remember talking to certain religious individuals that were part of really conservative groups, and they were saying that a lot of times what they would do is they'd go out and either look for a escort, or
I've read about it. I've read
somebody
about
like
it
that.
as well.
I'm sorry?
Sorry. Yeah, I read about it as well. I saw a lot of articles about this topic where religious people are living double lives. Like, they have their wife and children at home, but sometimes they want to be able to express sexual behavior in a different way. So they go to clubs, they remove the traditional clothes they wear, they put regular clothes so no one will know they're religious, and they go to swingers clubs or regular clubs to meet someone for one night stand, and they go for it. It's like almost double life. But when family of a religious person discover they do something like this, they take a very high risk that they may never see their family again. They will not let them be a part of the family anymore.
Yeah, we've seen it seems a lot. Sometimes it can express itself in really bizarre ways, and how would you say, unhealthy manners. I know another thing. A lot of times they view, sometimes if they do have an escort or a prostitute or whatever you want to use the term for, they don't see it as being as bad because they can do things with them that they can't do with their wife because of their religious beliefs. Is that something you've encountered?
I'm not familiar with this, no, but again, I can understand why people will look for sexual relief and some pleasure, or to experience something they never did. Again, I believe sexuality is a very natural part of our life, and we need to learn to live with it, and some ways to control it as well, and enjoy it.
Excellent. What do you think, in the sense of affairs, when somebody has an affair on their wife, and I know this is not, I don't know if you encounter that a lot in your practice. Is that something that is something you work with your clients as well?
To be honest, an affair is almost, there is a very famous sexologist in the United States, Dr. Chris Donahue. He says an affair is almost, it's an expected part of marriage. And I tend to agree with him, because almost every couple I've talked to or worked with told me about either affair, or I separate between one night stand to an affair. An affair is emotion, all the emotions are involved, and it's much more painful than a one night stand. I separate between love and sex as well. One night stand is a sexual act to release something that you couldn't control yourself, and it just happened. An affair, you're falling in love with another person and you keep it going. And that feels, for the other side, like a true betrayal. That is very painful. I mean, also having sex, when you hear your wife or husband is having sex, had sex one time, it's painful, but not as much as an affair.
That's really a rejection of that person in a sense.
Yeah, in any way, you feel unattractive, you feel unworthy, you feel unloved, you don't understand why your partner would do that. It's very hurtful. It really hurts the other side. But I always tell people I don't think it's a reason to get a divorce. I think you should try to work on it, because I believe when someone is looking for another partner to have an affair with, it's because he's missing a lot of stuff in the relationship. I wish they would talk to their partner and work on these issues before they go in to find another one. But unfortunately, it's very common that they will, go find warmth, love, someone to talk to with a third person, someone outside of the marriage. And it's really common. I don't even think we are a monogamous being, to be honest.
Yeah, that's going to be for another show. We're going to bring you back when we discuss monogamy. But for the meantime, we will discuss a little bit about polygamy. There's so much to talk to you about. We can have a whole year with you. On polygamy, what do you think? How do you view polygamy in regards to your psychology of intimacy? Is it possible to have 3, 4 wives? And I forgot the name right now off the top of my head for multiple husbands. There is a small group of that. But
yes, there's also this practice, very rare, not in many places in the world, but you have to understand polygamy. It's something that's started as it helps also on both sides. Yeah, if a woman takes a lot of a husband, if a husband takes a lot of wives, it's something that I think this practice started in order to be able to take care of your business. We used to be farmers. We used to have fields, and we needed more women and more children to run our business. So it was a useful practice, not just sexually, but also, financially, and to support and to make the business bigger. These were the people that works for you. You don't have to pay them. It's part of the family, and you keep creating food and everything you need to provide them. But today, I find this practice odd. It's odd because it's not part of Western cultures. It's hard to expose yourself to the world. I find it, I guess odd is not the right word. I guess it's almost as if they need to come out of the closet. And I see that it's very difficult for them to practice. And I see that it's very difficult for the children to go to school and tell them, oh yes, I have many, my mom and my dad, but there is also, for other moms. And I think it makes things too complicated. It's already complicated when you have one wife. How can you have 5? Oh my gosh, it's probably a headache all day. Seriously.
Hi, welcome to Adelante. This is Adelante Recovery, and my name is Yvette Kuglin, and I'm part of the staff.
Adelante Recovery Center has helped people in dual diagnosis for 5 years. We accept most PPO insurances and provide luxury accommodations and 24-hour support. To speak with an admissions counselor, call 1-888-242-4450.
A lot of time we don't even know what's wrong with us, and sometimes we need to get away to figure that out. So if you want to go for a little retreat out in Corona Del Mar, which is a confidential location, we're here to help. So we're only a phone call away. Thank you.
We discussed polygamy, and I know eventually towards the end of the show we're going to start talking about advice and tips. Another topic that comes up every so often, I think it's kind of been on the lower bottom of the radar lately over the last few years or decade, interracial marriages, interracial dating. Is that anything you work with over there? Is it besides the challenge of society maybe looking at them in a certain way, is that anything there that you see in the psychology of intimacy?
I haven't got to see many interracial couples or clients that dated someone who's not from their culture in LA and in Tel Aviv, in Israel. So I don't really know much about it. You're right, it's kind of under the radar, and I hope it will stay like this because I think it creates better genetic material. Kids are much healthier and stronger. They take the best from each culture and background. So I I'm a big believer in love, and I believe no matter what culture, what age, what gender the person is, if you love him, go with it. So that's my personal belief, but I don't have much experience with interracial couples.
No problem. That leads us right into the tips and advice section when you talked about love. That got me thinking about that. So, if you had a couple sitting in front of you that were having issues with intimacy, what would you say? What's some of the advice that Dr. Varod would give them?
Well, first I will give him home assignment to become more intimate.
Home
in the
assignment,
way
homework.
homework, because I will want each one of them to go to make a list even and tell each other what I'm missing in the relationship. And I will start with the intimate little things, like I'm missing your hugs, like at least 20 seconds, like a real hug, and I'm missing to go to sleep at night with you and not when you're in the living room in front of the TV and I'm in the bedroom in front of my TV. I miss being with you when you're not on your cell phone and your iPad. These are all very current problems, all the technology, and people have a relationship on Facebook rather than the person that sits in front of them. They will be like that, like I will talk to you, but I'm here. This is the start, and in order to spice their sex life, I kind of like to hear what they always had in mind and they always fantasize about, and have them discuss it, because communication outside of the bed helps communication inside of the bed. Communication in the bed helps outside. Communication is number one component for successful marriage and relationship. So I want to start working on their communication. You're going to find couples who's been married for 10 years and they can't tell each other what they like in bed because they feel like, oh my gosh, I can't talk about it. They're shy. So I'd like to work on the communication. And then the fun part, then we take what we agree, or, what we both, they have to agree on any sexual activity. If I want to do role play and I want to be a teacher and you're my student, I want to know that they both find it attractive. But he's not going to sit like a pouty student and be like, oh, I don't know what you're doing. This is not sexual for me. We want to know they're both having fun. So after they agree on certain stuff, and I send them home and I let them experience. And what I like about it is some couples disappear, and after 2 months they call me and they're like, can you give us more home assignment? It was really good. I really love that part, because they disappear and I'm like, oh my gosh, what did they do? Maybe it didn't work, maybe I wasn't helpful, but then I almost getting like an email or a call. We need some more stuff. Can you give us home assignments? It was really fun, and I'm loving it because I know it was very helpful, and they spiced their sex life, and they're having a good time.
Now this might be too simplistic, but it sounds almost to me that a lot of times it's just the lack of being able to be with your significant other. Like you were saying, we're distracted by the phones and the iPads, but maybe that's what's separating us.
Be in the moment.
You need to be in the moment.
Also, when you have sex, you need to be in the moment. Don't think about other stuff, because you're not going to be able to enjoy it. Even if you have, don't have sex when you have 3 kids screaming, you had a bad day at work, and you're very stressed. Have it when you're more calm and you can really be in the moment and enjoy it. Enjoy, as you say, come home, enjoy your wife, enjoy your partner. Leave everything aside, no TV, no iPad, at least for an hour or two. Have some intimacy, communication. And then this will lead to the other. Your sex life will be good. Be creative there as well. And if you want to add your iPad, then put porn on and spice it up. Use it for your sex life. Small tips.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Small tips, as I said before, don't let it become a routine. Change position, change wardrobe, role play, toys, have a vacation, even a bath. Like romantic bath with candle. It's very erotic. A lot of simple stuff. Massage is very erotic, and it really is a big turn on. Very tiny little touch can be very sensual and beautiful for a couple and make them very happy.
That's great stuff. Great advice. So even doing things, improving the relationship, that would improve the relationship in general, you would think.
Yes, but you have to be always creative. Like even the things you did today, just spice them. In 2 weeks, you will get bored. As I said, you eat the same food every day. Don't try the same position every day. Always be creative.
Interesting.
And that's going to last forever, I think. Almost.
Now, do you give advice that is different between couples that are married that are not married, or is it pretty much along the same line? Because I know the married, you have a commitment, it's a little different.
Non-married is a commitment too. I am not married and I have a child, something that modern culture still don't accept. But it's the same thing, unless when people get married and they tell me they feel like that, then they have a mental issue with the concept and the vow they made. That can be an issue sometimes, but usually couples love it and accept it, and it's the same for me for someone who is in a long-term or short-term relationship and have issues, and someone who is married. I see a difference between 5 years to 10 years to 20 years. It really is important to know how many years you've been together.
What kind of differences are you noticing?
Sometimes you can have a couple who tells you, as I mentioned before, after 1 year, our sex is not as good as it used to be, but they're still having sex. And then you have a couple who's been 10 years together and stopped having sex at all and have 3 kids and are living life with any sexual touch. So I'm not saying it is not okay though, because I've had a couple who, for example, had sex once a month, and I asked him if this is the way he likes it. He said, yes, I prefer to have it only once a month. And I asked her, do you have any problem? And she said, no, I like it. And I said, so where is the problem? Not always what sounds as a problem is a problem, unless the couples unless he's like, no, I want to have it 8 times in a week, and she's like, no, I want to have it once, and we have a desire issues. The libido is different. He's higher than hers, and then we have to work on it. But if they have no problem, I have no problem.
Do you see that a lot? I mean, is that something you see a lot where people do have different drives, sex drives?
Oh yeah, yes, a lot. Especially, look, it seems like all men are very sexual and they want to have sex all the time, but it's not very true. Men are affected by so many stuff, especially work, financial, stress, family. If they have any type of stress, their libido goes really low and they don't want to have sex. Women will think, oh my gosh, he doesn't find me attractive. What's going on? Because he's a man and he needs to have sex all the time and he's supposed to. All the culture stereotypes kicks in, and then women are like all upset. But they are human beings as well, and they get affected. Also, men can be harmed, or not harmed, but affected. If their diet is not healthy, if they don't exercise, if they smoke a lot, if they drink a lot.
You're reading my mind.
Yes, they're not really interested in having sex at all. They have a relationship with, either alcohol or something else.
Now that's going to take me a little bit away from the advice and tips for a second, because you just jarred something in my head. Social media portrays people to look a certain way, right?
Oh my God.
The gentlemen have to have the 6-pack and the girls have to look perfect and whatnot. Do you see that as being an impediment as well in the world of intimacy? Or do you see maybe the woman's not as attracted to the male because of the media pressure, or vice versa?
It causes huge damage to intimacy and to any sort of sexual touch. Huge damage. It's not just social media and what you're saying about body image. The boobs have to be this big, a D cup, and pornography created that the men has to have a certain size. And I mentioned this because I don't know how they find all those actors who are like, this is not the average size, and we can't expect men to have this size, and that affects their security as well. They think, oh my gosh, if I don't have this size, it hurts their self-esteem a lot, and they think they may not be good in bed. For women, it's also, as I mentioned, the breast size and all the plastic surgery today, and the lips. Oh my gosh, they go huge with the lips today. It's like another. But when it comes to bed, it affects us a lot. People don't turn the light on. They want to have sex in the dark, and it is very harmful. It's okay to have sex when it's dark. It can be very sensual and you only feel, but you want to see each other. You want to show affection towards each other, body and parts. Some women and men won't take their clothes off. because they feel that they're too fat maybe, or too big, or not sexy enough. And you can't really have sex when half of your clothes on, the light is turned off, everything is very awkward. It doesn't flow. And
so you recommend actually have the light on then?
Sometimes, yes. Yes. I always tell women who tells me I can't do it when the light is on. My body, my waist is too big, my boobs are too small, I was breastfeeding, my breast is not as pretty as it used to be. But I tell them, you forget something very important. Men are visual, and the man who chose you because he finds you attractive. So maybe you think you're not attractive, but he needs to see what he finds attractive. So that kind of helped them a little bit. I'm like, okay, don't go with all the lights in the room on, but at least put one light, something for him to see. A candle or two.
And that's what you would tell them, though, the ones who are suffering from the social media bombardment
it
of
goes
looking
deeper.
good.
It goes into deeper issues usually. It goes to self-esteem issues and eating disorders and a lot of other problems that we have to work on before it comes to even sexuality.
Yeah, there's so much in this area that's unbelievable. I mean, I know we're going to talk more in the future, and there are other topics I wanted to explore. People who've been raped, unfortunately. How is their sex life affected? I've had discussions in the past about that. People in the pornography industry, since they have created now, they've kind of changed sex to be more of a job, an occupation. How does that affect their level of intimacy in their life? There's so many topics.
Sex and fertility. We'll talk about it one day when people have.
That's right.
It becomes like sex on the clock, and then it's not really sensual or pleasurable anymore because you have to do it in the same specific day and time, and you have to rush and make it all in the right timing to have a baby, and it's becoming very difficult.
Yeah, that's another great point.
It's a very current issue, very, very current. A lot of couples having issues with that in the last many, like 5-10 years, since all the fertility clinics rose.
Oh, really?
We're going to talk about it in another show because it's like a whole show.
Yeah, it is. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Varod. We had such a wonderful time with you. We thank you so much for your expert insight into the world of intimacy and sex. As I want to tell everybody, well, once again, the Circle of Insight, all the opinions expressed here are not necessarily those of the host or of the show, but we do want to hear different views. We want to get a comprehensive picture of every topic we discuss. So we listen to every view to see what's going on out there. Thank you very much for joining us again in the Circle of Insight. Thank you, Dr. Varod. Have a great night.